You've seen it before, haven't you?
Dom, how long have we been doing this?
Once more unto the breach, dear friends.
Again and again and again until we're both dead.
Hello and welcome to You've Seen It Before, movie reviews with connections in mind. Aquaman is the latest addition to the DC Extended Universe, and it is directed by James Wan and stars Jason Momoa as Arthur Curry / the Aquaman. And this time around we see more of a standalone story for Aquaman as we delve into his backstory of being the son of a human lighthouse tender and the Queen Atlanta of Atlantis, and fast forward past his birth and after the events of 2017's Justice League, and we see Arthur Curry having to go back to Atlantis reluctantly in order to claim the throne that he has so resisted up to this point, in order to prevent his half-brother, King Orm, from uniting the various seagoing kingdoms of Atlantis and waging war on the surface world, a surface world that believes that Atlantis is a myth. And it is up to Aquaman and Princess Mera from a rival underwater kingdom to depose King Orm and restore peace to the sea and prevent a war with surface worlds. Now, this video review will contain spoilers of Aquaman, as well as certain other films and TV series. I'll put a full list in the description below. But if you haven't seen Aquaman yet, or any of the films listed below, and want to wait until you have, stop the video at this point and come back later. Or you can skip to this point in the video. I'll be doing my spoiler-free analysis after my spoiler-filled comparison. And yeah, with that in mind, let's begin. So in this film, as with many films, there is a search for a MacGuffin, mainly a artifact or some object that, if possessed, will grant a lot of power to whoever finds it, and it drives the plot forward. In this case, it is the Trident of King Atlan, who was the first king of Atlantis before Atlantis sank into the ocean, and whoever possesses this trident has the ability to unite all 7 of the Atlantean kingdoms and get the title of Ocean Master. May seem familiar to anyone who not only saw the 2017's Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Men Tell No Tales, which had a search for Poseidon's trident, but it also has a certain bearing to the Sword of Kahless from an episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, in which Lieutenant Commander Worf has to find the Sword of Kahless because he believes that whoever possesses that sword has the ability to unite all of the factions of the Klingon Empire and become a true emperor at that point. And there's a lot of tension in that episode. During the search, there's also a instance where an artifact which contains the message from King Atlan in order to divulge the Trident's location is having to, not only do they have to put this artifact in a location which is in the middle of the Sahara Desert, but it has to be activated by water, because that's how the technology works, apparently. That scene in particular was very reminiscent of the final scene in The Fifth Element, where the various pillars, when brought into this temple in ancient Egypt, were activated by the various elements, one of which was water. So there's an interesting comparison there. However, the main source of comparison between Aquaman and another film, I have to say it is very similar to Black Panther, in that both of these films feature an outcast relative of royalty of a kingdom that is not known to the rest of the world, having to come in and challenge the current ruler for the throne and there's a ritual combat involved. And also, during the course of the film, there is the whoever is in possession of the throne at that time, it is threatening a war upon the outside world, be it the world outside of Wakanda in Black Panther or the surface world in Aquaman. And it's up to the rightful heir of the kingdom in order to protect them, to depose this radical king and protect the outside world. So those are my main points of comparison with Aquaman as compared to other films and TV shows that have come before it. Now, the main question upon this reflection, if you haven't made it already, is should you go see Aquaman in theaters? I would say absolutely. This is a very fun film. There's a lot of great action in this film, although I must say, even though it is very CGI at times, there's not a lot of in-camera work as far as the action goes. There's a lot of great action in this film, great set pieces as well, especially the world building of the Atlantis and the various ocean-going nations underneath the waves. There's a lot of great world building going on there. And above all, Jason Momoa's Aquaman is just awesome. He's really fun to watch, and you can really empathize with him when he's going through the struggle, and when he really projects the tough guy image, and when he feels a moment of vulnerability, you do feel for him in those moments. And those are great moments in this film. And also the I have to give praise for Amber Heard as Princess Mara. She's a very fun character to be around. She might be a little bit of a stick in the mud at times, and she has that stereotypical fish out of water sort of thing, no pun intended. However, as she's learning these things in the surface world, it's just really fun to be with her. And I'll just keep saying fun over and over again, just because this is it really is a fun movie. This isn't a spoiler, but I'm not going to say exactly why I say this in the spoiler-free portion of the review. However, I said in my spoiler-filled analysis that Aquaman is very similar plot-wise to Black Panther. And, I mean, both came out in 2018, of course. However, if I were to choose between Black Panther and Aquaman to watch over again, I would choose Aquaman. And the main reason is, whereas Black Panther is also a very fun film, in that film, I would say the side characters, Shuri and all the other people of Wakanda, those are really great characters, and they have a lot of colorful interactions between each other and with Black Panther himself. However, whereas in Aquaman, these side characters, they are good, but they don't really do as much. Like, for example, Willem Dafoe is the vizier of King Orm, and he really is kind of pointless throughout the film. I mean, there really was no reason for that to be Willem Dafoe, so that's kind of odd. But the reason why I would choose Aquaman over Black Panther is that our main characters, Black Panther and Aquaman, of those two, Aquaman's Jason Momoa, he's just a much more fun character to be with. He has a lot more character, he's a lot more charisma to be around, and you do feel like he has a genuine personality with him. Whereas with Black Panther, I felt that T'Challa was very bland and just kind of a stick in the mud himself, and he really didn't do much. Granted, he's coming off the heels of a bunch of very quippy heroes, such as like Star-Lord and Iron Man and all these things, Spider-Man. However, but all that being said, as far as a movie goes, I just feel like you can theoretically take Black Panther out of his own movie and it would still sort of work. I can't say the same about Aquaman, and that was the tiebreaker for me between those two movies. And with all that being said, that is why I definitely recommend seeing Aquaman in theaters. If there were any negatives to it, as I said before, there are definitely some CGI-ness in the set pieces and the battles. that could be distracting at times. Like the big battles in the trailers that you might have seen between the various sea nations, they are cool to look at, but they don't really have an immediacy to them, and they just kind of feel there, and a lot of noise with no real substance. That's kind of a downer, but that being said, all that aside, those negatives are not nearly outweighed by all the great positives of Aquaman, and I definitely recommend you checking it out. So there you have it. There's my review of Aquaman. I hope you, if you watched it all the way through, I hope you agree with my analysis. If I missed anything, let me know in the comments down below. And if you skip to the spoiler-free section of this video, I hope you come back and rewatch my spoiler-filled analysis after you've seen Aquaman. Be sure to look for my next review, which will be for Bumblebee, which comes out December 21st. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate whatever audience I can get. And just remember, there is nothing new under the sun. And yes, you have seen it before.